stopping point. So to go ahead and kick off, again, my name is Coach Sarah with Alma Vida. I'm excited to be here today in co-hosting Coach Laura's webinar here. Really excited for this topic. It's near and dear to my heart as well. A systematic approach to achieving goals. Who doesn't want to achieve goals, right? So for today, know that we encourage interactivity. We're going to be using that chat box just like you used. If you're comfortable during the session keeping your video on, that's great, but it's not required as well. I will be monitoring the chat box and making sure that at the end, we're going to have about 10 minutes or so for Q&A. So get those questions in there. I will keep track. And otherwise, know that Alma Vida, for those of you, especially if this is your first webinar, we are a coaching company that is all about loving your life, whether that be career, life, leadership, health. We support our clients across all of those verticals. And Laura's topic for today, absolutely relevant across the board. So I'm excited to learn more here. I'll share a bit more at the end as well. And this session is being recorded like you saw. So that will be great that you'll have that content later on as well. With that, Laura, unless there's anything else that you can think of, I would be happy to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Greatly appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're having a fabulous Thursday. I don't know if you are all feeling the way I am. Where did this entire year go? We're already in December. So with that, it's a great time to start thinking about how can we put goals into place for the upcoming year. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. And if I could just have somebody let me know that they can see it. Can you give me a thumbs up? Thank you so much. I'll put it in slide presentation for all of us. Here we go. And I just need to move some of my boxes around on my screens here. So today's program, a systematic approach to creating and achieving goals. What the agenda is going to be, we've got a lot to cover in about 55 minutes because I do want to leave time for questions. So I'm probably going to talk a little faster than I normally would. But please, as you have questions, go ahead and add them into chat. We should be able to touch base and be able to answer all of your questions at the end of today's presentation. But as they come up, add them right into chat. What we're going to cover is why a systematic approach is critical. What is a systematic approach? How are we going to create a systematic approach focusing on intentions and how they play a role? Habits, how are they formed? Trigger awareness and creation to help achieve the goals. Preparing for obstacles to support your achievement. And then how do we create the process? So let's jump on in. First off, I do want to just share briefly. I know Sarah did share in the beginning. We're Alma Vida. She and I are both coaches. We are a career leadership, life and health coach company. Our name itself means love your life. And what we believe in is that we can help everybody love the life that they are leading. To introduce myself specifically, I am Coach Laura. I have worked in the financial service industry for 33 years. In addition to that, I've had 6 years of entrepreneurial opportunities. I always enjoy connecting with individuals. So you'll see my LinkedIn here. I would love to be able to connect with any of you if you are interested. In addition to that, my full bio is on the Alma La Vida website. So please feel free to go out and check out more about who I am and my passions, how I've arrived where I am today. Let's jump into the program now. What is a systematic approach? So I always like to start with Webster's Dictionary. Webster defines systematic as done or acting according to a fixed plan or system, methodical. As humans, we learn through repetitive action. If you think about it, the lather, rinse, repeat on the shampoo bottle, that's how we learn, is we just repeat actions. Creating a system means in that you can follow a system to achieve goals. And then in the future, you can use that same system to achieve your future goals as well. So in the chat, I do want to know if you could place a 1 if you've heard of SMART goal setting, or a 2 if you haven't. And I'm going to bring my chat over so I can see people are, for the most part, many of you have heard about it. Most of us have heard about the SMART technique. Basically, what it stands for is the S is specific, the M is measurable, the A stands for achievable, R stands for realistic, and the T stands for time bound. So most of us are familiar with this process. So if we use this process, why is it that several of us haven't achieved our goals yet? And one of the ways to look at it is that the SMART goal process, while it's very specific, it is a paper that has the details of the goal, but it doesn't take into consideration all the other factors, such as your values, your why, your environment, your time constraints, items of that nature that impact your ability to complete your goals. So the systematic approach takes all of that into consideration, as opposed to just using the SMART goal function. Now on the screen, there is a quote by George Bernard Shaw. It says, if you teach a man anything, he will never learn. And it's an interesting quote because Shaw is correct. If you teach somebody something, they're not going to learn. Learning is an active process. So we learn by doing. So a systematic approach to creating goals looks at goal setting process from the very beginning. And it takes a whole holistic approach to add in all the different actions so that you can achieve those goals. Let's move on to the next slide. I'm going to have to move my screen around. Here we go. So what is a systematic approach? At any point in time, actually, this was a study in the newspaper, Washington Post, January 2018. They determined that 45 million Americans claimed to be on a diet. However, according to a study that was done later that year, only 5% of people that have been on diets ever achieve their goals. So why is this? Why can 95 or 45 million of us be on a diet and yet only 5% of us really achieve that goal? Mainly it's because we're using the SMART goal process. And in that SMART goal process, we might set a goal for ourselves that is specific. I want to lose 10 pounds. It's actionable because 10 pounds and realistic. 10 pounds is realistic to be able to achieve, and put in the time bound by May 2022. So I have a SMART goal there. I want to lose 10 pounds by May 22. However, it doesn't really address a couple of factors. First off, it doesn't address, why do I want to lose 10 pounds? Just randomly, do I want to lose 10 pounds? Or it doesn't address what's going to happen in September of 2022 when I've achieved that weight loss. Does that mean everything magically gets to go back to the way it was right now? Or are things going to need to be changed? So as you can see that this goal, although it is a SMART goal format, it really isn't going to help set me up for the long term to achieve my overall goal. In fact, when I say I want to lose 10 pounds, maybe what I actually want to do is have a healthier lifestyle, which in turn is going to help me lose 10 pounds. So I use the weight loss as an example of what a systematic approach is, mainly because so many of us can relate to it. This, however, isn't the only area that we can use this approach in. So let's look at the differences of how a systematic approach can really help you. In chat, could you let me know, how do you define intention? So I'll wait just a moment for a couple of those chats to come in. And as you know, it's of course slow. And intention is, it's something that I want to do. Terrific. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. Something that you plan to do. Thoughtful action. Oh, I like that one. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let me ask you this. Do you see a difference between intention and goals? If you see a difference, put a 1 in chat. If you think they're the same, put a 2 in chat. Terrific. I'm seeing a lot of 1s out there. So the definition of intention, it's a thing that is intended, an aim or a plan. So it is similar to a goal. However, what we've discovered is that as humans, when we put an intention out there, we add greater dedication to it. We add the desire to achieve something greater than ourselves. So understanding what you're moving towards can help you achieve it. Although we're just all trying to make it through life, it's interesting to contemplate, how conscious are we about what we're doing and the direction that we're going? Do we ever stop and really consider, what is this action that I'm doing right now? How is that moving me closer to or further away from my intention? Reflecting on what you're doing can help you achieve your goals. So in chat, one more time, if you could put a 1 if you know what your goal, your intentions are, or put a 2 if you haven't thought about it from this sense before. Seen a lot of 1s pop in. I have seen a couple of 2s pop in. Well, thank you for the honesty for those of you that are putting 2s in there. For those of you that are putting 1, congratulations. Continue to implement and to follow your intentions and use it as a guide to achieve your goals. So as you know, intentions are very powerful. When you intend to do something, you begin to set up your time and your situation so that you can make it happen. So an example that I can use from a coach, a client as I was coaching, the client really felt like the relationship with her sister had declined, and she had an intention to improve that relationship. It was extremely important to her. So she had values set behind it. She had the why set behind it. Well, because she had that intention, she started finding more opportunities to call the sister. They live in the same town and they enjoy going to the same movies. So in one of my most recent coaching sessions, she had shared that her and her sister had had a fabulous time attending a movie over the weekend. And it was a random, spontaneous event. So they both enjoyed it more. But because she had been more intentional, she was starting to seek out those types of environments or situations that they could connect and have fun. So your intentions help you keep your plans in the forefront of your mind. Whenever you're thinking about it, if you want to intend to do something, you're reminded of your goals. And this can help you follow through on your activities. Intentions can both be short-term and long-term. So for example, a short-term intention that one of my clients is currently working on is going to work every day. And her intention is to finding one item that she can excel on or excel in doing for that day. Her long-term intention is working on those one items that she's excelling on every day to start to be recognized as the next leader, to be able to receive the promotion she wants into a leadership role. Another item regarding intentions that's extremely important to consider is the fact that you're in control. When it comes to having intentions, it's up to you to decide what you want to do in life and how you're planning on achieving it. So you get to consciously make decisions about what you want to do, how you're going to do it, and when you're going to do it. Intentions are also a fascinating paradox because you control having the intention, and your intentions, in a sense, drive your actions. So ultimately, you end up prospering because of your intentions. In the end, you'll live a life you truly know that you want to achieve, and you're going in the right direction. So let's go ahead and move on and talk about how we can form habits to be able to support our intentions. Got it. Click to the next screen. There we go. I found it fascinating in putting together this presentation. Did you realize that there are over 2,000 books on Amazon regarding creating habits? And I can tell you right over my shoulder here in my own personal library, I can within an arm's reach at least 3 books regarding habits and the importance of creating good habits. Habits are extremely powerful in us being able to achieve goals, and they're instinctual. In the chat, let me ask you this question. Have you ever either driven to work or walked into work and realized that you don't even remember the process of getting there? You just now realize you're there. If you have, put a 1 in chat. And I'm going to put a 1 because boy, I've done that a lot. And many people get worried about it. But the truth of the matter is, if you're following the same route every single day, you're going on autopilot. And autopilot is basically another term for a habit. So your brain knows the habit. It's conditioned. You get in the car, you start it, and you know where you're going. So one of the items, though, and let me back up slightly. Most people have heard this analogy or have heard this. There's a statistic that says if you do some activity for 21 days, you'll create a habit. If you've heard this, please type yes in the chat. Okay, everyone's heard that. Terrific, thank you. Well, there's been some new research. So the 21-day isn't 100% on course any longer. Professor Lally and her cohort at the University College London discovered that a behavior must be repeated 66 times before it forms a habit. So if you're just trying to do something for 21 days and you're doing it just once a day for the 21 days, you're not going to actually establish a habit. And a habit is what helps you continue the process beyond the SMART goal concept. So the habit is really what you want to be able to achieve or to create when you're going to achieve your goals. So repeat behaviors in the same setting and situation is what's important when you're creating a habit. You're more likely to form a habit when you keep doing the process in the same place at the same time. The researchers have determined that where you are when you're trying to form a habit is actually more important than other items of the habit. So another example I can give is, I'm sure many of us, this is a personal example, I can't go anywhere without my coffee in the morning. It is a pure habit of mine to go downstairs, I feed the dogs, and I push the Keurig button. I don't even do it without, it's like, I don't even think about it. It's what I do. And for the last week, I've been trying to do something different to see if I can break this habit. But everything in my kitchen's the same. My Keurig is right in the same spot. The dog food's right there. Everything is the same. So it takes an awful lot of conscious self-discipline in order to change that habit, because I feed the dogs, I push the Keurig. What I'm going to test next, though, is if I move the Keurig into a different section of the kitchen rather than having it right there with feeding the dogs. In doing so, I'm going to be able to break that habit because I will no longer be repeating the same normal sequence. So consistency is key when it comes to habits. In addition to that, habits are cue dependent. So what that means is that they are formed when there is something in the environment. So similar to what I was just talking about, my Keurig being right there, that's the cue that formed my original habit. I can guarantee I did it over 66 times. So there's a very strong neuron in my brain running that track to push that button. So the only way I'm going to be able to change that is to modify the environment. So let me just ask a quick question. If this makes sense to individuals, place a 1 in the chat. I want to make sure that people are following this habit concept. Excellent. Good. Okay. Thank you. Another factor that researchers found to be important is that we need to be extremely consistent in the early stages of forming the habit. So if in the 66 day or the 66 repetitive process, let's say at the 30th time, you skip it, that might not be as critical as if you skip it in the 7th time. So the earlier on you can be very consistent and lock in the process, the more likely you're going to be able to basically retrain your brain into this new habit. One easy and another example of it is, let's say you want to floss your teeth every night at bedtime. You always brush your teeth, but you don't floss. And the floss is in the medicine cabinet. Well, you want to create a habit that these two items go hand in hand. So if you start putting your toothpaste right with the floss, put the floss right on top of the toothpaste, you're going to have to pick up the floss every time you want to brush your teeth. So it's going to be an automatic cue that, oh, I want to floss. So I'll brush my teeth and I have my floss right here. I'm going to floss. And then I'm going to put the toothpaste down. I'm going to put the floss right on top of it. By doing so, you're just creating this cue that every time you reach for the toothpaste, the floss is there. It's a reminder, not only a visual reminder, but now it's also the motion. You've got it right there, they're together. And so that process is going to help you be able to establish a habit. So let's talk next about triggers and what exactly a trigger is. And let's go back and use the losing weight, losing just a few pounds, just because it's a simple example. Let's say you've wanted to lose a few pounds, but for the last several years, you've taken the no fuss, easy way out of breakfast time. I don't know about you, but breakfast is always a little chaotic in my household. You start your day with a cinnamon roll or a donut or some kind of fast grab, Pop-Tarts. Those are my ones. Fast grab and go type food. And you know, it's just something that it's quick, easy. You know, you need to eat. So it's something that you grab quick and easy. Now, what's happened is you've created this continuous habit on this negative loop because you know that this isn't going to help you achieve the good habits that you want for reaching your goal of losing weight, but also being healthier. So what are some ideas that you have that you can do instead of having the donut or the cinnamon roll or Pop-Tart for breakfast? In chat, go ahead and ask, what are some ideas that you could do? Fruit, excellent. That's great. Being able to have something quick and easy. Yogurt, great options. Nuts, oh, that's a good one, because that's also something that can easily go. Granola bar. So basically what's going to happen is what you're doing. Oh, pre-made egg bites. I like that idea. Thank you, Jennifer. What's going to end up happening is that I have to replace purchasing the cinnamon rolls, the donuts, Pop-Tarts, whatever they are, and instead buy some of these. Oh, thank you. Someone just said it. Don't buy Pop-Tarts. Don't have them in the kitchen. That's it. It's important to be able to have some other options there. So replace wherever I have my Pop-Tarts, make sure I put the fruit there instead, or the granola bars, something as a healthy alternative so that it can still be a grab and go because, as I said, morning times are hectic for me. So I need to understand what my environment is, but it's replacing that bad habit with something good. So the trigger, back to the example of the Keurig, they're close together. The trigger is to push that button. I need to replace it with something else. So replacing it with having nuts, some of those nut packs that you can buy, something like in that vein can help me be able to achieve those goals. Once again, I need to be consistent. If I put it in the same place every morning, I'm going to go grab that instead of, now, the egg bites that somebody mentioned, that can easily be put into the same type of habit routine. I just need to change things around a little bit. So maybe the egg bites are in the freezer. Well, now, because I've also been very guilty, I always carry my water bottle with me. I'm going to put my water bottle lid in the freezer. Not the water bottle itself, just the lid. I like warm water. I don't like cold water. I should probably explain that. But now when I go to the freezer to grab the lid for my water bottle that always comes with me, right there's the egg bites. And that's another easy way to create that habit that I can reach for that, put it in the microwave while I'm filling up my water bottle. So something that is easy to replace. You've got to change your triggers. That's the key to it. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. As you're doing all of this, you're planning, you're putting in place the system so that you can achieve these goals. And you're doing so that it can be lifelong. It's a process that you're putting in place. One of the items you do need to understand is there's going to be obstacles and you need to prepare for those. You have to know that it's going to occur. It's not going to be easy, but you can overcome. So how do you overcome? Sorry about that. First, let's talk about some of the obstacles that are out there. First, people. Sometimes people can be our biggest obstacle to achieving our goals. And so even though we feel like our family and everybody's going to support us, if, for example, you have young children or you have teenage boys that want to have the Pop-Tarts in the house, it's going to be hard to maybe break that habit, although it would be good for them to learn good habits as well. They might want that as a snack. Well, then you're going to have to change the way that your thought process is to come up with a different meal process. So once again, to that egg bite, rather than going to where the Pop-Tarts are, now I've got my water bottle lid in the freezer. I'm going to take that out. So there's the egg bite. There's no reason for me to go to the pantry to get the Pop-Tart. But understand that people sometimes in our environments, they're not trying to sabotage your goals or your achievements. They're just part of the environment that you need to understand may present an obstacle for you. Another item, another person who might be an obstacle is yourself. Unfortunately, frequently we sabotage ourselves in trying to achieve goals. We do this by our thoughts, our beliefs, and more importantly, our fears. It's easy to determine if you're getting in your own way. When you think about a goal, do you feel anything other than excitement or enthusiasm? If you do, you might be your own worst enemy. So for me, exercise has never been something that I enjoy an awful lot. But if I really think about it, it's not so much the exercise that I don't enjoy. In fact, I can tell you back when I was a kid, I used to love recess. And when I was in middle school and in high school, I enjoyed aerobic classes. So wait a minute, I did enjoy exercise. So what's holding me back? Why do I keep telling everybody, oh, I don't like to exercise? It's myself. I'm holding myself and I'm not allowing myself to go ahead and exercise. So I need to once again be aware that I might have some limiting beliefs. I might have some values that, who knows, or worse yet, I might just have some fears regarding exercise. And so I need to overcome those. I also need to be I want to be respectful of myself. I don't want to put myself down and say, oh, it's stupid that you don't want to exercise. I want to really listen to myself internally and figure out why. And when I figure out why, I can then stop putting myself as an obstacle to achieving my goals. Momentum. This is sometimes a big one when I'm coaching clients who are just starting in their career. They're really excited. They've seen some of that momentum of the progress upwards, and then all of a sudden they hit a plateau. Every once in a while, it's going to be tough. Momentum is something that will slow down. Sometimes it's going fast, sometimes it's going slow. And it takes more energy to keep things moving sometimes. So you have to expect resistance to the processes that you're putting in place. And once again, find ways to encourage yourself through the process. Celebrate the small wins. Randomness. What in the world could I possibly mean by randomness when it comes to obstacles? Quite honestly, it's itself. Life itself can sometimes present an obstacle. I can have all of the best intentions in the world to be able to study for my homework that's due on Saturday. But then the dog ends up having eaten something in the backyard and he needs to be run to the vet to be taken care of. Well, there goes the time that I had planned on taking care of my homework. These things happen. And so what it talks about and what we need to do here is become adaptive, be flexible, and make sure that we're using our time wisely. So even though I might have had that time blocked out, hopefully I didn't just block out 30 minutes to finish a 5-page paper. Hopefully I've given myself enough of a buffer there that even though I need to take care of my dog, it's going to be okay. I've built in time to be able to achieve what needs to be done. So consider the words of Michael Jordan. If you're trying to achieve, there will be roadblocks. I've had them. Everybody has had them. But obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, go under it, go around it. Stick with it. So when it comes to obstacles, they're going to come up. It doesn't mean to give up. It doesn't mean to go, I guess this goal wasn't worth it. What it's telling you is just make sure that you stay focused and you find ways to overcome. And if early on, you can think through what some of the obstacles might be as you're establishing these new habits, these new goals, and start to plan for them, you'll be amazed that they might not even happen because you've already put in place some plans so they're taken care of. So let's move on from obstacles. How do we create this process? We've talked a lot about the triggers and forming habits and having your intentions. Let's see if we can put this all together into what's next. It would be, I wish it could be as easy as Nike put it as just do it. It's not. There is an awful lot of work, dedication, and effort on your part. Consider what Aristotle said. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. So in order to achieve the systematic approach to achieving goals, you need to create it as a habit. The first step, establish your intentions. What do you intend on accomplishing? Review your habits. Determine what habits are going to help support your intentions and what habits are going to be a negative impact on your habit or on your intentions. Review your mindset. Remember, habits, intentions come from our mind. We get to control those. So we need to make sure that our mindset is in a positive place and that we're not berating ourselves when we run into roadblocks. Find resources. Resources can be a variety of items. Maybe it's a podcast, a blog. If it's, obviously using the example of weight loss, there are all kinds of support systems out there in order to do that. If you're trying to get ahead in your career, you want to be able to achieve the next level, the promotion that you're desiring, find resources that can support that achievement. Determine what your triggers are. Know what you might have as something that's going to stand in your way. Know that for me, the trigger, when I feed the dogs, I have my coffee. If I don't want to have coffee anymore, I still have to feed the dogs. I can't stop feeding the dogs. I need to change the way that I have that habit to push the Keurig button. Think about obstacles and think through what can you provide as alternatives to overcome those obstacles. Expect setbacks. This is one that you do need to know, is that it's not always going to happen the first time. What is it? Thomas Edison said, I didn't fail 33 times or 100 times on developing the light bulb. I found 33 ways that it didn't work. I just needed to, or 100 ways. I apologize. I'm really ruining that quote. I should know better. I normally try to keep my quotes right here for me to read. But it's the concept that don't see the setback as, I'm just going to quit. It's easier to quit now. No, that's an excuse. See that setback for what it is. You become the expert when you go through the learning process. And when you have a setback, you've just learned something. So you're a greater expert now. Establish rewards along the way. So let's say you were planning on, back to the original example, wanting to lose 10 pounds and wanting to lose it by May 22nd or May 2022. And let's say I've gone through all of these steps. A reward I might want to set for myself is that once I hit that 5-pound mark, maybe I'll go out and buy one of the new workout outfits. Ones that the Lululemon kind, those types of items. And then this is the most important in my opinion. Celebrate. At the end, when you've achieved your goal, take time to just feel that splendor, feel how wonderful it is to know that you've put all of that hard work, you were dedicated, you followed through on your intention. It feels like a warm blanket on a cold day. Celebrate your success. And then know that you've created this systematic approach so you can do this again for whatever that next goal is. Push yourself outside of the comfort zone. Set up that next goal. Use the same process and have the confidence that you're going to be able to achieve it. So what's the next steps? Let's talk about that. In chat, what I'd like you to do, if you could, please tell me one thing. Type in there a brief, what did you learn from today, or what are you going to start doing today because of what you've learned over the last 40 some odd minutes? Let's see what ideas you have. While we're waiting for those to come in through chat, I am going to go ahead and pass it back over to Coach Sarah to share some information.
Laura, thank you so much for such an informative and truly enjoyable presentation. And thank you to all of our attendees for your engagement in the session as well. I feel like we can learn and grow so much from one another as we are engaging together, and it's fun to hear about the different strategies, what is and isn't working. And I have taken note of a couple questions that came through that we will get to shortly. But in closing, in terms of coaching next steps, having the support, accountability, and structure to move forward with goals and putting into practice what we learned today is absolutely something that coaches like myself and Laura really enjoy supporting our clients with. So if this is something that has sparked your interest of coaching, exploring what that could look like for you is of interest there. In terms of next steps, we've got that link there to schedule your consult. That's a free consult. That's a first step with one of our relationship specialists. So for those of you who have attended other ALV webinars, oftentimes you've seen Justice, who's been a co-host, and he is one of our teammates who really enjoys getting to know what your goals are and exploring who the right fit for your coaching relationship will be based on your goals. I'm also going to do a quick copy and paste here to put that link in the chat box. In case you didn't know, by you attending today, for those of you who have attended this webinar, you schedule that consult. If you're interested in coaching and you ultimately sign up for one of our memberships, you'll get your first session free. So that's our thank you to you for joining today. Definitely click on that link if that's something that you're looking forward to exploring. And then if you liked what you learned as well, I'm going to put a few other resources links in the chat right now. So we've got here our website. That's a great place for more information. If you like the resources and what we are learning about, then signing up for our newsletter. That's a great way to ensure that you receive recordings of other events, other great information, tips and tools, a lot of the topics that Laura and myself and the team cover with our clients. We also like to translate that into the newsletter as well. And then Eventbrite, if you're not already following Alma Vida, that's a great place to get those notifications of what our future webinars are. We hope that this isn't the first and only time that we see you for those newcomers here. So, and I'm glad to hear that Jay Smith loves the newsletters. Always great to have that shout out. So now we will move on to our Q&A. We've got a couple minutes here. So I'm going to scroll up and see if any other ones have come through. While I am doing that, Laura, one of the questions that is a easy one, so if you don't mind, I'll just tackle that, is will this deck be sent out to participants after? So that answer is yes. If you signed up through Eventbrite, if you are on our mailing list, that's how you will receive a link to our recording and other resources afterwards. So we will be sharing that content with you like we do with all of our other webinars. So that was the first question. And then Laura, the other question that has come through was this one. As the holidays are coming up and folks might be traveling and visiting family, do you have any tips for keeping habits strong while not being in your normal environment?
That is a great question. Thank you for asking. I'm not sure who asked that, but that is perfect, because that is what the systematic approach should be looking at. So some tips regarding keeping your habits strong is, first off, awareness. So you're already aware that you're going to be in a different environment. So now that you're aware, start to form some processes that you can put in place that will be able to support whatever the habit is. Let's use, for example, eating healthy. Because I know when I'm traveling, especially if I'm not going to a person's house who's making food, I'm eating out a lot. That can just be extremely challenging. So going into that type of process, knowing that I'm going to be faced eating out frequently, I'm going to be very intentional about, back to what you were people recommended earlier, for breakfast, rather than going down to the hotel and having one of those really big fluffy Belgian waffles that you can only get at the hotel that tastes so good, smothered in butter and syrup. I'm going to make sure I pack granola bars. And when I go down for the breakfast, I'm going to grab fruit and have my granola bar. So it's consciously putting in place some ideas that will be able to help me so that I can continue to stay healthy when it comes to eating, specifically in traveling, keeping those, always having some snacks of nuts and things of that nature available, rather than going into the store when I'm getting gas in the vehicle and buying that Hershey's candy bar. So those are some items I could recommend, is think through ahead of time where you're going to be, what the circumstance is, and how can you continue to support your habits with, even though it's not going to be in the same environment. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Laura. Anyone in the chat, if I missed your question earlier, apologies in advance. That was, I believe, the primary one that I captured throughout the presentation. So now we will take our remaining time. If anyone else has questions, feel free right now to use this time. You can unmute yourself to ask directly, or if you'd like to put another question in the chat, if you're more comfortable, that works too. And let's see what other thoughts and questions come through.
While that's occurring, I just want to thank everyone earlier. You did put in some great intentions of what you're planning on doing and how you're going to apply what you've learned today. That is key. Giving knowledge is part of it, having awareness is part of it, but now let's start taking action. So thank you all for sharing what you're planning on trying to do in order to start applying what you've learned immediately.
And we did receive an additional question, Laura, from Curran, and that is, how useful is having an accountability buddy? I find this useful not to shame me not achieving, but to help me get back on track.
Fabulous question, and thank you for bringing it up. Accountability is a portion of being able to stick with what you're trying to achieve. And as you said, accountability, it's not somebody to shame you. It's not yelling at you, why didn't you do this? It's understanding, okay, what happened? And let's talk through and brainstorm. If that should happen again, what are you going to do differently? In addition to that, the one item that we as humans do know that when we tell somebody that we're going to do something and we put it in writing, and we know that that person is going to check back in on us, there's a stronger likelihood that we're going to do it because we don't want to look bad. We don't want to feel bad that we've either let that other person down or that we said we were going to do it and we didn't do it, and that we want to keep our integrity in line. Because of that, having an accountability buddy can be extremely powerful. I hope that answered that question. Any others?
Yes, they're rolling in. We've got a couple more here. Okay. First off, from Charlie, when life hits you unexpectedly, for example, working at home with kids as a result of COVID, where habits are really hard to maintain, how do you pick yourself back up? Is it okay to be in that weird limbo state for a period of time with the intention to eventually get back on track?
Definitely, as I hope I have communicated through this entire this presentation, it's extremely important to honor where you are at the moment. As much as we would all love to be 100% and perfect, we're humans. And life does throw us curveballs every once in a while that we can't, from the furthest thing that we would ever understand, we can't be prepared for everything. So yes, give yourself grace. Understand that you may have to take a different path to achieve whatever your goal was, or you may have to do something different when it comes to creating those good habits. The important item, though, is to not allow yourself to just completely say, oh, I just give up. Obviously, life is sending me a message that I shouldn't be exercising or whatever it is. It's just giving you the opportunity to learn a new way to do it. So embrace those, give yourself grace, understand that maybe rather than me achieving my weight loss goal of 10 pounds by May 2022, it's going to be more likely May of 2023. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop working towards it, though. I hope that helped.
Thanks, Laura. We've also got one from Rick. Is the major limitation of SMART goals the absence of intention?
The absence of intention and the absence of taking into consideration the environment. Because in order to achieve goals, once again, you need to set up the environment to achieve that goal. As I shared earlier on with the SMART goal, my SMART goal is I want to lose 10 pounds by May of 2022. That is a SMART goal. It has all of the elements, but it doesn't take into consideration everything else going around. So while the SMART goal is writing it out, and you do want to make sure that when you establish goals, it needs to be specific. You can't be general. It does need to be something you can measure, because otherwise you're working towards something you won't necessarily know that you've achieved it when you've achieved it. It needs to be realistic, time-bound, all of those items. However, that's just one piece of the overall puzzle on creating a system to achieve goals. You need to add in, what about the habits? What are some triggers or obstacles that might slow you down on achieving that goal? So it's taking a holistic approach to goal achievement.
Fantastic. That looks like that's it for our questions that have come through the chat. While we have just about a couple minutes remaining here, any other participants want to chime in? Feel free to unmute yourself with any other questions, or you're also welcome to, of course, put that into the chat box as well. We'll give it another minute here as we all percolate.
As we all transition to Zoom, I was taught early on that I'm supposed to wait 30 seconds to see if there's a question or see if somebody's going to type something in. And it wasn't until Zoom that I realized how long 30 seconds really is. Waiting patiently.
I hear is that a clock in your background, Laura? That's the perfect way to keep time. I was just thinking about how when I count 30 seconds, I tend to count too quickly, like
yes,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But you've got that nice metronome.
Yes, I do. It is my clock in the background. I keep telling myself I need to go buy a clock that is a little more silent.
Oh, I like it. All right. Well, that looks like that covers it for our questions. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is one more time, I'm copying and pasting those links. So you've got those resources, the website, the newsletter sign up, the Eventbrite link to follow for future webinars. And again, for any of you who are interested in really keeping in mind these different puzzle pieces to achieve your goals, if you would like to explore further what coaching could look like, we've got that link to schedule with one of our relationship specialists, explore what coaching could look like for you. And again, if you do enroll, then your first session is free as a thank you for joining today. So thank you, Laura, so much for your time. And I think we all look forward to really being intentional and applying that to our next steps as we build these habits and goals for now through the new year.
Terrific. Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure. I've enjoyed being able to engage with you all, and thank you all for engaging with one another. As Coach Sarah said, that's how we learn.
Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we hope to see you around soon. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Goodbye, everyone.